Hello scholars, Mr. S speaking from you off the screen, but we're getting ready to go into standard deviation. Now, the book goes into a little bit of detail on how to determine standard deviation using your calculator. However, I want to make sure that you really understand how to do this so that you can use this very easily, because we don't want to get bogged down and having to do this by hand. Our calculator will do this for us. Now, on my screen here, I have the image of a TI-84 graphing calculator, but the various forms of graphing calculators can do very similar things. Will do the same thing in very similar manners. What I'm going to do here is go ahead and go through. I'm just going to go ahead and use example 1 from the textbook. That's page 720. Everything I punch on the calculator will show here, but the keys I actually press are going to show here if you ever get a little lost. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go over to Stat right here. I'm going to hit that button. Now I need to put my numbers in, so the way I'm going to do that is through this Edit option. So I can hit 1 or I can hit Enter. And I'm just going to hit Enter. Now you can see I already have some numbers in here, but I need to take them out. So my up and down key, I'm going to go up so that I can see that the L1, where my list of numbers go, is highlighted. If I hit clear, nothing's going to happen yet, but once I go down, all that old list is cleared out. So it's a very quick way to start a new list of numbers. So now all I have to do is put in my numbers. So from example 1, problem 1, I have a 6.9. Go down to my next number. I have an 8.7. Next number, 7.6. Down to the next number, 4.8. Next number, and a 9.0. And I don't really need the 0.0, so I'm just going to put 9. So now that I've got all my numbers in my list, I can actually go and figure out all my standard deviation, my mean, all those things. All I have to do is hit Stat again. Now I've already got all my numbers in, so I don't need to hit Edit again. I need to calculate some things. So I'm going to go over to the right. I'm only going to have one variable stat, so this is in the right place, so I can hit 1 or Enter. Now nothing happens yet until I hit Enter. Now all this that comes up here, this is the mean. And you'll see from your book, it's the same mean. We're not really going to be concerned about these. These are the two things that I want to point out to you. Your book really does not talk about a distinction between these, but there is a difference between the standard deviation of a population, the entire group, and the standard deviation of a sample, when you take a sample of that whole population. And you'll see a little bit more about samples in the next sections. But it is important to see the difference here. These two bottom ones are both standard deviations. This very bottom one with the little omega sign, that's the population standard deviation. The S for sample is the sample standard deviation. You can see they're very close, but they are slightly different. So unless you are specifically told that something is a sample, you always use the population standard deviation. And you can indeed see that they got a standard deviation of approximately 1.5, and that's what we have from our calculator. For variance, you can still find variance off of this, but it doesn't actually automatically list it for you. In order to find the variance, you have to take your standard deviation and do the opposite of square rooting it, because you would take the square root of your variance. To get your standard deviation, you would need to square the standard deviation to get the variance. Now, I went ahead and showed you how to use the calculator, but if you've got a few numbers, it's a good idea to practice figuring this out on your own, just so you have a better understanding of what standard deviation is. But as you get more comfortable with it, and as you come across longer lists of numbers, using your graphing calculator is a very good route to go to figure out that standard deviation, so you can focus simply on figuring out what that standard deviation means. So use this as you delve into standard deviation here and into later sections. Good luck, scholars.